If a soldier is exposed to the nerve agent Soman, they have only minutes before their diaphragm locks completely rigid and they stop breathing. Normally, medics treat nerve gas exposure with standard chemical antidotes like atropine and Tupam, but Soman works differently. Once it enters the body, it permanently alters, or ages, the victim's enzymes so quickly that those standard antidotes cannot break the chemical bond in time to save their life. Because the poison outpaces the cure, surviving a Soman attack requires a biological intervention that begins before the gas ever hits the air. To create that biological head start, the military issues a pre-treatment pill called Pyridostigmine bromide. The operational timeline for this drug is incredibly strict. Troops are ordered to take one 30-milligram tablet every 8 hours, long before any potential exposure to the nerve agent. But the pill carries a specific warning. If a soldier waits and takes the pill right before or during an attack, it offers no protection and can actually accelerate a lethal cholinergic crisis. The bridge between a life-saving shield and a lethal accelerator lies in the microscopic mechanics of the human nervous system. This is a schematic of the neuromuscular junction. When you want to move or breathe, your nerve endings release particles of a chemical called acetylcholine, which cross the gap and trigger your muscles to contract. Once the muscle fires, an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase sweeps those particles away so the muscle can relax. Soman aggressively targets that exact cleanup system. When the gas enters the bloodstream, its molecules seek out those acetylcholinesterase enzymes and permanently fuse to them. With the cleanup crew destroyed, acetylcholine floods the junction. The muscle receptors are relentlessly stimulated, causing the muscle to lock into a rigid, vibrating state. When this happens to the diaphragm, the lungs freeze. Because Soman's chemical bond is irreversible, the body's communication network is permanently jammed. Without a pre-engineered bypass, respiratory failure is inevitable. If we introduce the pyridostigmine pill 8 hours before an attack, the biochemical landscape changes. This drug is also an enzyme inhibitor, but its bond is temporary and reversible. It enters the junction and docks into roughly 30% of the available enzymes. By occupying those specific enzymes, the drug effectively hides them in a molecular safe room. While the pyridostigmine is attached, no other chemical can access them. When the Soman attack actually occurs, the nerve gas floods the body and permanently destroys the 70% of enzymes left out in the open, but it bounces off the 30% that are currently shielded by the drug. The medication doesn't neutralize the nerve agent itself. It simply secures a critical, hidden reserve of enzymes, allowing the body to outlast the initial chemical wave. Hours later, as the Soman clears the body, the pyridostigmine's temporary hold naturally breaks. The particles detach and fade away, bringing that 30% reserve of perfectly healthy enzymes back online. That remaining fraction of enzymes is just enough to clean up the overflowing acetylcholine and allow the respiratory muscles to relax and pump normally, buying medics the window of time they need to safely administer the standard post-exposure antidotes. If the pill is taken right before or after a Soman attack, the gas has already destroyed the vast majority of the body's enzymes. The medication will then dock into and disable whatever tiny surviving fraction is left, actively accelerating the respiratory failure it was meant to prevent. In this biochemical equation, precise chronological timing is the only thing separating a protective biological shield from a lethal biological weapon. During the Gulf War, the U.S. military deployed this pretreatment on a massive scale, with roughly 250,000 troops taking the pills under the threat of chemical attack. In civilian medicine, pyridostigmine has been used safely for decades to treat autoimmune diseases, largely because its chemical structure prevents it from crossing the blood-brain barrier. But researchers soon discovered a physiological anomaly. The extreme physical and psychological stress of a wartime environment actually compromised the blood-brain barrier in many soldiers, allowing the drug to reach the brain and trigger unexpected central nervous system side effects. It proved that a drug's behavior is dictated not just by its chemical structure, but by the physical state of the human taking it. Ultimately, pyridostigmine is a team player that only buys time. Physical protective garments, gas masks, and immediate post-exposure treatments remain the primary lines of defense. To stop a chaotic, irreversible poison, military medicine successfully repurposed a controlled, reversible one. In the microscopic theater of chemical warfare, survival sometimes means intentionally sabotaging your own nervous system, just enough to ensure the enemy can never do it permanently.